Boston is a beautiful city and is portrayed wonderfully through many great displays of cinema, from The Departed to Manchester by the Sea and many in between. To encompass a realistic view of Boston, filmmakers use specific techniques to represent people's lives, such as color, sound/dialogue, and camera editing/angles of films that differentiate Bostonians, showing their camaraderie and caustic communication skills. The most important technique used is mise-en-scène, which is a vital tool used to represent many aspects of a movie. In Manchester by the Sea, there's a cold, dim feeling to the movie in order to give the movie the sad feeling that it has about it. It is also a tool used to show authenticity to the area around Boston. Lee Chandler's cold demeanor mixed with the cold and gloomy feeling of Boston winter melds well, along with snippy, caustic remarks to build-up tension that is authentic to the area. Marcus Dean claims, quote, "There's a few telling scenes in Manchester by the Sea where a lot of information is conveyed without an ounce of exposition," end quote. As we can see from many of these clips, Lee Chandler tells the audience a whole story with just a look. In The Long M Melancholy Roar by Thomas Lafley, he argues that Casey Affleck and the writer/director Kenneth Lonergan brought Boston's authenticity to the film Manchester by the Sea. Lafley explains, quote, "In order to nail down the specificity of the town, Lonergan did extensive local research to try and adapt as much as Boston into the material. After talking to several fishermen, for instance, he learned that when they go fishing, they cut their cuffs off their shirts." Currently playing is a deleted scene from Manchester by the Sea showing fishermen, one being Lee Chandler, with their cuffs cut off, showing Lonergan's attention to detail. Lafley also believes Manchester by the Sea has a, quote, "singular sense of realism, features meticulously constructed characters and relationships, rich monologues, and multifaceted dialogue," end quote. Lafley quotes Casey Affleck saying, quote, "I like making jokes, and I like hearing jokes. I like characters that make jokes. I don't really feel like there's a tremendous gulf between comedy and drama. I just feel like they're kind of the same thing," end quote. Many Bostonians use humor to get through hard times. Displaying emotions is hard for specifically men to do. Here's a clip from Manchester by the Sea that supports these claims.
This is the same girl that was over at the house?
No, that was Sylvie, and this is Sandy. And they don't know about each other, so please don't say anything in case it comes up.
I won't. Do you actually have sex with these girls?
Well, we don't just play computer games.
With both of them?
Well, with Sandy's mom here, it's sort of, strictly just like basement business.
What does that mean?
It means I'm working on it.
Mise-en-scène is used in film to bring an authentic Boston atmosphere and experiences to film to give them a sense of surrealism. A big part of surrealism is dialogue and accents. Boston humor is very specific to the area. By nature, it is generally offensive, but these jokes were shaped by the culture many Bostonians grew up in. Shock Plus Nothing by Ross Douthat criticizes the curt language and subjects of the jokes in the movie Ted, starring Mark Wahlberg and Seth MacFarlane as Ted. Douthat references a quote by Claire Hoffman describing Seth MacFarlane's comedy as, quote, "an aggressive, shock and gross-out agenda," end quote, in which, quote, "abortion, AIDS, bestiality, Down syndrome, and rape are favorite comic motifs," end quote. These jokes do not add nothing. They help show authenticity to the area of Boston. Blended with the traditional Boston accent, they are a staple of Boston movies and help embolden Boston culture in Boston-centric film. Color is a tool used in many ways to show certain aspects of a character. One of the best Boston films that displays this is The Departed. In Jason Hellerman's article, How Martin Scorsese Layers Symbolism and Color in The Departed, he explains how the use of color can show moral ambiguity and culture. Hellerman claims that the colors blue and red are used in contrast, which shows the good and bad within our characters in The Departed. Dark blue, shown mostly in scenes with Matt Damon's character Colin Sullivan, show that he is morally on the fence with being a mobster posing as a police officer. Red is another color used within the film by Martin Scorsese to contrast with the color blue. Colin is a mobster working as a cop, and Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Billy Costigan, is a cop undercover as a mobster. The best example occurs when Billy almost catches Colin outside a theater. Colin is colored red throughout the chase, showing that he's really a villain, and Billy is colored with blue light, showing that he's really on the good side, which is significant since throughout the movie up to this point, Colin has been colored blue and Billy has been colored red. Here, rather than depicting moral ambiguity, the scene suggests that people are able to hide their true selves. Colin does not have any remorse for his actions. He is just trying to put on a face as a police officer. On the contrary, Billy only wants to do good, but has to pretend to be evil. Color is used as a means to show moral ambiguity and culture in the Boston community. Color is helpful to give a sense of location, but another technique is the use of certain camera angles and editing. These are used to portray very specific aspects of movies. Mostly every shot of a movie has some sort of significant undertone, feeling, or meaning it wants to convey. The Departed employs these techniques very skillfully. Gabrielle O'Brien claims Scorsese uses New York as a base to represent Boston. O'Brien notes, quote, "His beloved New York is transposed onto Boston," end quote. In his article, The Politics of Paranoia, The Departed, he references many different editing techniques throughout, but a few specific ones prove that they show Boston in a specific light, such as the iris shot of Colin in front of the Boston Police Department. It's used as Colin heads into the Boston Police Department, which is representative of the fear an Irish mobster would feel going into a place like this, showing he feels out of place or uneasy with the situation. Also, the shot of the State House from Colin's apartment, which O'Brien claims that the Massachusetts State House shot represents Colin moving up to a higher status as a mobster would normally not have. But it also represents Colin's feeling of superiority, that he is able to easily fake his way to this position and deserves to be there. Finally, the two-way mirror shot in the police department. O'Brien's view of the two-way mirror scene in the holding cell shows the two gangsters trapped within there, but it can also represent Colin's double life, as on one side he is a cop, then switches to his mob persona when he goes into the holding cell. Mystic River is another movie that uses specific camera angles to emphasize certain cultural aspects. Nicolette Rowe talks very specifically about this in her article, Centrifugal Bostons and Competing Imageries in Mystic River, specifically in the section titled Centrifugal Urban Space in Distinct Communities. She references the overarching shots used to show Boston suburbs are not daunting, like one you would see in an aerial shot of New York. Here at the top of the trailer for Mystic River, we see this aerial shot. She argues that it puts an emphasis on the suburbs and how the movie is meant to represent them not just as a byproduct of Boston, but encompasses the entire community. While this notion is valid, there is more to it because it shows that these communities are tight-knit and close compared to an interpersonal cityscape. Filmmakers are skilled in many ways, but the most impressive skill of all is representing culture in film. Many filmmakers are able to show the culture and nuanced tendencies in Bostonians using an array of incredible techniques. They're able to show our tight-knit nature and caustic communication skills. Thank you very much.